is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. Counting down, those important WrestleMania matches from past history. Yesterday, I was able to talk about WrestleMania 19, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. Today, I'm going to be talking about WrestleMania 30, Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. Honestly, one of those moments when you know that you're at something and you realize what you just saw was big, and it's something that you're going to remember. It's something that's going to cause a ripple through history. It's something that we never thought was ever going to happen. The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania. Personally, I always thought it was pretty funny that they built up Undertaker's streak of WrestleMania matches. They weren't even all main events. I mean, the first few ones, when he wrestled against Jimmy Snuka to start the streak, when he wrestled, Jake the Snake Roberts. Of course, as a, I don't know, how old was I? 8-year-old kid. I didn't know that, Jake the Snake Roberts was leaving the WWF and that he was going to sign a contract with the WCW. He'd be wrestling against Sting. But, the days of Jake the Snake Roberts meaning something in the WWF was coming to a close. Of course, he would come back. If it wasn't for him wrestling against Stone Cold Steve Austin in the final of that King of the Ring, where he did the old Austin 316, said, "I just whooped your ass," I don't think anybody would remember that resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts, where he was supposed to be, clean and sober. He was thumping the Bible at the time. But, it wasn't until, I think really, it's funny the way you kind of think of it, but Mark Henry, to me, was kind of like the first time that the Undertaker streak, really meant something, when he was playing into the storyline. I think it just happened it happened organically, it happened on accident. Just Undertaker kept winning matches at WrestleMania. All of a sudden, I think he had compiled 10 of them before they realized that he was 10-0. But after that, you go and he fights Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. He wrestles against Edge. That's when, it really kicked in, and he's having these really kick-ass matches. The next two, he gets against Shawn Michaels, then Triple H for the next two. Did CM Punk at 29. Here he is at WrestleMania 30. Now, he's 21-0. 21 WrestleManias. I'll tell you the truth. You go back, you pull my WrestleMania 30 prediction video. I picked Undertaker to lose. Did I really, when it all happened, was I, banging the gong there in the Superdome? Was I yelling at everybody, telling, I knew it? I honestly picked Brock Lesnar to win the match because somebody had to beat this guy. The streak isn't a streak unless, you really play up the storyline of somebody ending it. And who else is going to end it other than, Brock Lesnar? Of course, there was the rumors at the time, how long was Brock really going to be in the WWE? His first run in the company was only 2 years before taking his hiatus, where he, wrestled for New Japan, where he went and he did UFC. He played for the Minnesota Vikings for a preseason. He went out and he tried to do a little bit of everything. And of course, he almost came back to WWE a few years earlier than he did, which was scooped up, honestly, by WWE.com, talking about the fact that Brock Lesnar was there trying to work out a deal with Vince to come back. But everybody knows that, Brock doesn't really like the traveling. He doesn't really like, being away from home. And they really had to find a way to make him happy, in there, where he's not having to do house shows. He's not having to do every episode of Monday Night Raw. He's only doing, the pay-per-views that really mean something. So he's not really, having to, deal with going through airports and staying in hotels. He can stay home as often as he can. I'm sure he's flying home immediately after Monday Night Raw, private jet style and stuff like that. Just trying to find a way to keep him there. But there was rumors all over the place that Brock was leaving, Brock wasn't going to do this. Of course, he's always got his hand, in the fishbowl, trying to see if maybe there's some sort of a UFC fight. Him doing UFC 200, still under contract with WWE, while failing a drug test, still makes no sense to me. WWE never made mention to any of that. But, the match, honestly, it's a shame that the match wasn't what it was supposed to be. Of course, Undertaker gets dropped on his head really early, and he's concussionville. The vet that he is, he's able to pull it back together and still keep, some sort of pace going through the match. You can even see as you're watching the match on the network or on DVD that he's even calling spots while he's still in there. But the night that Undertaker lost, I just remember Brock hit the F5 and the whole place went dead. I mean, it's one of those matches that you really heard the ref hit the mat. 1, 2, 3, and just, it felt like an eternity. And then all of a sudden they rang the bell, and then you're figuring, like, sitting in the seats, not watching at home, like, you're just thinking, like, okay, somebody screwed up. They have to find a way to fix this. Is it some sort of a screw job that, they'll be able to fix and storyline down the road where Undertaker never lost? And then up on the screen, you see the graphic of Undertaker 21-1. I've heard stories where people say that they played, the Brock Lesnar theme. I've heard people say that they've played Undertaker's theme. I don't think anybody really has the same story. I'll tell you, I thought the first theme song that I heard is when they started bringing out the divas for that Vicky Guerrero. It wasn't I don't think it was a battle royal. All I know is that AJ was putting her championship on the line, and I think she was fighting like 20 girls at the same time, trying to prove that no one in WWE was on her level, and she was a great champion. It was just like, you just kept waiting for something to happen. Later that night, of course, we get to see the ending of a storyline. Daniel Bryan winning the WWE Championship, winning the three-way with Randy Orton and Batista. That should have been the biggest moment in the history of WWE, honestly. It should have been right up there with Hogan and Andre. But I think the Undertaker streak being broken sort of put everybody in this trance of, we were like at a funeral. And, the place went crazy. They shot up full of confetti. I was hugging my buddies. We were having tons of fun. We were glad we were there. But it was almost like once we got in that line of people to walk out, and then we were out on the street, our hotel was close enough that we just walked home. We were walking the streets of New Orleans. It felt like we were in a funeral procession. And I've been to lots of wrestling shows. And I know that WrestleMania, walking out of WrestleMania 32, it was, I think we were all kind of like really bummed because the show kind of wasn't what we thought it was supposed to be. But we've gone to SummerSlam, we've gone to the Royal Rumble, and those shows have ended on good moments. And of course, you have to wait to file out of the stadium, which takes time that nobody's really looking forward to. But normally, once you get back with your buddies into a group and you're walking together instead of like in a single file line pressed up against 1,000 other people, there's like, I remember when we walked out of SummerSlam, was that 2012, and Del Rio won the championship after Kevin Nash came down, when Del Rio cashed in on Daniel Bryan after the Randy Orton match with Triple H as the ref. I remember just jumping up and down, being pumped that Del Rio was the champion. But there was no thoughts of Daniel Bryan that night. I think everybody was thinking about The Undertaker, and it just kind of put us all into this weird trance. We went back up to the room. We changed, and then we went out to go to Bourbon Street, where the mood ended up changing, and we ended up having a blast that night. But I think when it comes to, like, you know, those matches that really, you know, change history, you know, Undertaker losing to Brock Lesnar that night really did it, because we all knew that, you know, somebody was gonna have to beat the Undertaker, and we didn't know when it was gonna be. And then when he didn't have that streak anymore, was that when he was gonna retire and we were never gonna see him anymore? And because he didn't really have anything to fight for. Him coming back at WrestleMania 31 against Bray Wyatt, that match meant no sense, no meaning. Did we think he was gonna win, you know, 20 more times to, like, put his streak at risk, that he was gonna be the one who broke it? No, there's 2 nights of WrestleMania. I guess now, if somebody wanted to, they could wrestle both nights and, you know, pack up the wins in half the amount of time that the Undertaker did it. But, you know, Undertaker wasn't going to do it. And then, of course, Undertaker came back the next year, Hell in a Cell against Shane McMahon. And then after that, wasn't it him and Roman in the main event, where he ended up losing that match. And that match felt even weirder because they made a big deal. He lost last time at WrestleMania. Here he is losing again. Then he leaves his coat, his hat, his boots in the ring. And then he comes back again against John Cena. At least that one wasn't really announced. Cena had to, like, shake the life into him to make him come back, because they needed to have, you know, Undertaker and John Cena on the card, and Cena got left off, and he was just, you know, trying to get the dead man to come out and play one more time. I can't remember if he did 35 or not. Was 34 his last one? I don't know. But, you know, that's sort of like, you know, you can remember all the matches, and then once you get to a certain point, it sort of dips off. And I think that's because, you know, even though there was no championship on the line, they built up the Undertaker streak to mean something that, you know, really meant something. And then once he didn't have it anymore, and it was just a match, you know, what are we doing this for? We only see this guy once a year for the most part, and then all of a sudden he's going to come back and he's going to have this match, and, you know, what are we doing? I mean, that's just kind of what it is. But I'll never forget it. I'm glad that I was there. I'm sure that if I was watching on my couch, I mean, I immediately would have been jumping onto my laptop trying to find, you know, some wrestling rumor of, you know, some guy rang the bell because he thought the referee pointed to him, but the referee was just telling him that he had a booger on his nose, and, you know, it was a big mess up, and they have to find a way to fix it. I'll never forget that. I mean, just crazy talk. So, boom, just in time to pull up to the house. Peace out, guys.